Please wake up. Don't leave me. Ancestors, please save him.
In the village of Umudike, the worst kind of silence is the silence of a woman watching the love of her life fade away. For Chioma, that silence had lasted 7 agonizing days. Her husband, Moses, a man once as strong as an iroko tree, lay on a woven mat, his skin burning with a fever no herbalist could break. His breath rattled in his chest like dry leaves. Chioma had sold her last goats, her finest wrappers, and even her copper wedding bangles to pay the village healers, but they all shook their heads. "The earth is calling him," the oldest healer whispered, packing his herbs. "Let him go, Chioma. Do not fight the gods." But what wife surrenders her husband to the grave without a fight? As the midnight owl hooted, signaling death's approach, a desperate madness took hold of Chioma. She remembered the whispered legends of the Eke River, the forbidden waters at the edge of the deep forest, guarded by the river priestess. It was said that deep within the shrine rested the Mmiri-Ndu, the water of life, a glowing liquid in a clay vessel that could cheat death itself, but the price for touching it was your soul. Chioma looked at her dying husband. She didn't care about her soul, she only cared about his breath. The forest was a wall of black ink, but Chioma ran blindly, her feet bleeding from the thorns. When she reached the Eke River, the water did not flow. It stood perfectly still, glowing with an unnatural pale blue light under the moon. At the center of the riverbank stood the shrine, woven with white palm fronds and lined with the skulls of pythons. Inside, resting on a pedestal of carved stone, was the clay vessel. Chioma fell to her knees. She did not bring an offering. She did not sing the praise names of the water goddess. She simply crawled into the sacred space, grabbed the vessel, and ran. Behind her, the silent river erupted. The water violently crashed against the banks, and a voice sounding like 1,000 drowning women echoed through the trees.
"Thief, flesh of the earth, you have stolen my heart." Chioma didn't look back. She ran until her lungs burned, bursting into her compound just as Moses took what sounded like his final rattling breath. With shaking hands, she forced his jaw open and poured the glowing water down his throat. For a terrifying minute, nothing happened. Then Moses gasped. The ash color left his skin. His fever broke instantly. He sat up, looked at his wife with eyes that were suddenly too clear, and said, "Chioma, I am thirsty." Chioma wept, holding him tight. She thought she had won. She thought the nightmare was over. But a stolen miracle is a debt that gathers heavy interest. At first, the village of Umudike rejoiced. They called Moses the man who wrestled death and won. But within a month, the whispers began. It started with Moses's habits. The man who used to farm the driest soil now refused to eat roasted yam or cooked meat. He would only eat raw fish, catching them bare-handed from the village streams. He would sit by the water for hours, whispering to the ripples. Then came the physical changes. Moses's skin took on a strange, slick sheen, and the veins on his neck pulsed with a faint blue light. But the most terrifying moment came during the harvest festival. As Moses walked through the village square, a sudden torrential downpour localized entirely over him. Wherever the man stepped, the rain followed, while the rest of the square remained dry. The villagers backed away in horror. They had seen the impossible, and in Umudike, the impossible was dangerous. The true calamity struck in the dry season. While Moses thrived, the village began to die. the main village streams suddenly dried up, leaving cracked mud and rotting fish. The crops withered overnight, but the forbidden Eke River, miles away, swelled and flooded, drowning the surrounding farmlands. The river goddess was angry, and she was bleeding the land dry to punish the thief. The village elders, terrified, summoned the chief priest, Eze Muo. He arrived with his face painted in white chalk, carrying the sacred divination shells. Before he even cast them, he pointed his carved staff directly at Chioma's hut. "Drag them out," he roared. The villagers pulled Chioma and Moses into the square. Moses did not fight, he just stared at the angry crowd with cold, ancient eyes. "You brought a curse upon our soil," the priest shouted at Chioma. "The river goddess screams for her stolen heart. You took the Mmiri-Ndu, and now the water spirit has claimed your husband's blood. Look at him, woman. He is no longer human. He is a vessel of the deep." Chioma fell to the dust, weeping. "I only wanted him to live," she sobbed. "He is living," the priest replied coldly, "but we are dying. The goddess demands her due. By midnight the man must be returned to the river, or Umudike will perish of thirst. There is no pain like undoing the very miracle you sacrificed your soul to achieve." That night, under a starless sky, Chioma walked Moses back to the Eke River. The village guards followed at a distance with spears, but they were unnecessary. Moses walked willingly. He held his wife's hand, his skin cold to the touch. When they reached the edge of the turbulent, swollen river, Chioma collapsed. She clutched his waist, burying her face in his chest. "I cannot let you go," she cried. "I fought the gods for you." Moses placed a cold, wet hand on her cheek. His voice did not sound like the man she had married. It echoed with the depth of the ocean. "Do not cry, my love. You gave me a second life, but this life belongs to the water. I hear her calling me home." He gently pulled away from her grasp. Chioma screamed, reaching for him, but the water surged forward. A massive wave, shaped almost like a reaching hand, crashed onto the bank. When the water receded, Moses was gone.
Instantly, the violent river calmed, returning to its gentle flow. Back in the village, the dry streams immediately burst forth with fresh, clean water. The debt was paid. Chioma lost her husband, but she saved her village. She lived the rest of her days in quiet solitude, a respected but feared woman in Umudike. But the bond between a husband and wife is stronger than the boundary between the human and spirit worlds. Every year, on the exact night she stole the water, Chioma would walk to the edge of the Eke River. And every year, waiting for her on the muddy bank, she would find a single perfectly round, glowing blue pearl, a gift from the deep, a message from her husband, telling her that even in the spirit world, he had not forgotten the woman who loved him enough to steal from the gods.